Scales of Fate is a two-player duel that blends strategy with a thrilling layer of deduction into a tight 30-minute experience. It's a celestial game of cat and mouse, where you'll secretly shape the destinies of two demigods across 3 terrestrial ages, vying for renown while deducing your opponent's identities. To win, one demigod must be humbled so that the other can rise. At the end of the 3 ages, you'll score points based on the difference in renown between your 2 demigods. Or attempt a truly divine feat by aligning your demigods on the same space, earning points equal to that space's value. However, you must be careful. A keen observer will be rewarded, as each player will gain points by correctly identifying which demigods their opponent controls at the end of the game. Let's dive into how to play, first starting with setup. First, place the game board between both players. Then place the demigod renown trackers on the 7 spot of the renown track. Set all the demigod and servant tokens next to the board. Then position the abyss token in the middle of the abyss tracker. Lay out the 3 god power tiles face up next to the board. Then sort the age cards into 3 separate decks by their backs and shuffle each deck. Then draw the top card from each deck and place them on the board in order, flipping up the age 1 card. Randomize the quest tokens into 2 face-down piles. Then place the tokens on the board as shown on the age 1 card, using 8 regular tokens and 1 special token. Then flip them face up. Next, arrange the action tiles on the board as shown on the age 1 card, and set aside the unused tiles. Then, shuffle both demigod decks, 1 for each player. Deal 2 cards to each player from their deck. Next, give each player a demi sheet and a pencil. Then choose a starting player and give them the first player marker. Now you're ready to go. The game unfolds over 3 ages. Players alternate turns placing demigods onto action slots, using god powers, or placing servants. Each servant placement interacts with quest tokens, influencing demigods' positions on the renown track. Activated quests with an omega symbol gain renown for adjacent demigods, while scythe symbols lose renown for adjacent demigods. An age ends when all action slots are filled and all servants have been placed. On your turn, you may take one of 3 actions. The first action is placing a demigod. Take a demigod from off the board and place it on an open action token. Then immediately take the associated action. The smite action lets you send any demigod not currently in play to the abyss. Next, the abyss fate action tile allows you to move the abyss tracker left or right. This will determine the abyss's outcome at the end of the age. In this case, you can choose to give all demigods in the abyss -2 renown or +1 renown at the end of the age. Then there are up to 4 servant tokens in play: Penance, Vesper, or Hadria's Servants. When you place a demigod on one of these tiles, collect the associated servant token to use later this age. The second type of action you can take on your turn is placing a servant. If you've gained a servant token on a previous turn, you can place it on an open slot along the edge of the quests. This immediately scores renown for the affected demigods, based on the quest tokens it targets. Penance targets all dark green scorpion quests in a row or column. So in this example, Naka, the yellow demigod, would score 2 renown, and the black demigod, Klar, would lose 1 renown. Vesper targets all white feather quests in a row or column. In this example, the red demigod Pentha would lose 2 renown, and the purple demigod Agamar will gain 1 renown. Then, the Hadria's servant tokens target just the one specific quest they touch. So in this example, both the orange demigod Sagari and the blue demigod Apani will gain 2 renown. Now, the third and final action type you can take on your turn using a god power. There are 3 god powers you can choose from. The Smite god power sends any demigod to the abyss. If the demigod was already on the board, flip over its action token. When another demigod is placed there on a future turn, do not take the action on the tile. The Switch god power allows you to swap the position of any 2 demigods on or off the board. And lastly, the Steal god power allows you to take a servant token from your opponent to use later. When you use a god power, grab the token, flip it over, and place it in front of you. Each god power is only usable once per game by a single player. But it comes with a cost. Each god power used incurs a -1 point penalty at the end of the game. An age ends when all action slots are filled and all servants are placed. Then score the demigods in the abyss based on the abyss tracker. Now, both players must announce if any of their assigned demigods meet the criteria on the current age card. So for example, this age card specifies all demigods out of play. So in this case, if any of your demigods are pink, orange, or blue, you must respond in the affirmative, letting your opponent know that one or more of your demigods is out of play. To prepare for the next age, first remove all action tokens and demigods from the board. Then reset the abyss tracker. Next, discard the current age card and reveal the next one. Then update the red quest token as directed by the new age card. First, remove the old one, then move the quest that occupies the new red quest location, and then draw a new one to replace it. Then place new action tokens as shown on the new age card, and finally pass the first player marker to the other player. The game ends after age 3 after the abyss has been scored and the final demigod announcement has been completed. Players then make their final guesses as to which 2 demigods their opponents control. To do this, mark the 2 demigods you believe your opponent controls on your pad. Both players then reveal their guesses and their demigod cards. Now, determine the final score. If your demigods share the same space on the renown track, score the space's value. So in this example, player 1 has the black demigod Klar and the purple demigod Agamar. They are both on the 8 space, so they score 8 points. If your demigods occupy different spaces, score the difference between their values. So here player 2 controls the yellow demigod Naka, who is on space 9, and the green demigod Namari, who is on space 2, giving them 7 points. Then, gain 3 points if you correctly guessed both of your opponent's demigods. However, you must lose 1 point if you guessed neither of their demigods. Finally, subtract 1 point for each god power you used. The player with the highest score wins. In case of a tie, determine the winner using the following tiebreakers. First, most correct guesses. Second, fewest god powers used. And third, possession of the first player marker. And now you know how to play Scales of Fate. Thanks for watching. If we missed anything or you have any questions, hit us up in the comments or over on Discord.